So I think the topic of this video I really wanted to get into for the meat and potatoes was when to go on a structured program versus just going in the gym and doing what you want to do. Well, I think both of these ideas have their place. So obviously staying on a program, you're probably going to be at less risk of injury, assuming you're doing it right and you have someone that knows what they're doing. So having a coach, that if you choose appropriate numbers, you're not going to hurt yourself if you have good form and you listen to your body. So that's the assumption with a program. You'll make long-term gains and you'll be on a more steadily predictable track. So pretty much I see value in an unstructured training plan when the person training is not really pushing themselves hard in the gym. If you have a guy that's always pushing super light loads in the gym and has always been glued to a program, then he doesn't really know what it feels like to go for like a real RPE 8 or a real RPE 9 or even a real RPE 10, because they've been always using these sub-max numbers and they're too afraid to push it because they're too afraid to get injured. In that regard, I think for absolute newbies, they should not be jumping on a program. If you haven't been training for a solid block of time and you've never experienced a true 1-rep max, I feel like you don't have an adequate understanding of how your body performs under heavy loads or when things start to get pretty intense. That alone can hold you back in the long term of your progress. If you're always too afraid to go to a certain RPE because you're afraid of hurting yourself, then you're never going to experience that heavier load. You're never going to make these gains that other people are able to make. So talking from my own experience, I went on a program after 3 years of lifting, and I admit that was really late because I plateaued probably after a year and a half of lifting. Just go balls to the wall and try to pull as much as I can until failure. I did end up getting injured because my joints and my form just couldn't keep up with the load that I was lifting. Once you reach to that level where you keep having reoccurring injuries or plateaus, then a structured program is extremely valuable. I only started experimenting 3 years after repeating that cycle of plateauing and injuring myself. I probably should have jumped on after my year and a half because I probably would have made a lot more gains. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a program and you're YOLO lifting, maybe look into something, because your longevity in lifting, in powerlifting, is going to be a lot longer and you can have better gains if you were on a sub-maximal training program. Fatigue management is extremely important, especially if you're a natural lifter. The weights are just going to catch up to you. I went on to a program. I've experimented with programs that were super shit and that had no gains at all, and programs that even had high risk of injury, such as Small Love Junior. I would not recommend doing that. It's terrible. And now I'm at where I'm at with my program, where I took a mix and match of RPE programs mixed in with some percentage training. The basic understanding of how I train is I build momentum up. I start really light. I rather start lighter than heavier in my program because you can always go heavier later down the line. And I believe that's the safest way while trying to maximize your gains for powerlifting. Both training styles have their value. If you've never been off a program, like a newbie that's always been on a program, then I believe unstructured training for a little bit until you hit a plateau is probably best on your own training, and that you know how to grind reps. That's pretty much it. After injuring my back, like going lower just aggravated it more. So yes, I will be working on a deeper squat. I'm not worried at all about depth. I think some people over exaggerate how important it is and how much more difficult it is, but in reality, it's just a matter of getting used to it, and I don't think it's gonna be such a big problem in the near future. So I will squat something heavy eventually, and it'll be depth, so don't worry about that. If it isn't, you can flame me in the comments. So do it if I don't hit depth, and I'll do it if I don't hit PR. Fucking go. Had non-stop shoulder and chest DOMs, and I ended up cutting the frequency from 3 times a week to twice a week. I was able to recover a lot better, and I was able to get through. But since I'm not competing, I'm a lot more flexible with my training. I'm not afraid to fail. Like, there's no consequence for me failing a set aside from getting injured. It's also a weird one for deadlifts because I had to bring it down with a slow negative, so that also kind of depleted a bit of energy from the tank. I think deadlifts is probably the only thing where I felt too light this training cycle. We don't have enough weights, as you saw. It's 600 for 3. I thought it was an RP.
Lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me.
I feel like I could have got 7 reps if I was in the gym. And it was a beltless PR, so I'm happy. I never did 600 for reps, even with a belt. It's a pretty massive PR. Physique update, not so good. So I'm not really concerned about my physique anymore because I'm pretty confident that I can make a transformation. Peace out.